Spider-Man 2 is an amazing game straight out of the box, but there are a few changes you can make to make your experience even better. No faffing around, let's dive straight into the video. The first decision you're going to want to make in Spider-Man 2 is whether or not you go with Fidelity or Performance mode. Thanks to the PS5's hardware, both have ray tracing enabled, which is awesome, and visuals will be remarkable regardless of which settings you choose, but in my experience there are some differences worth considering. Performance mode will have you targeting 60 FPS at the cost of some clarity. This is probably going to be the favorite amongst the community, as swinging through New York and fighting hordes of Sandman minions is a wonderful thing to do when you have such smooth animations. With that said, Fidelity does look noticeably better, but despite a targeted 30 FPS, I found the game dropping below 20 in certain parts, feeling choppy and even having some more latency than I would like when playing the game. Of course, this one is entirely up to your own preference, but I personally will be sticking to performance with a few tweaks to make it look a little bit more punchy. Here are the settings that I'm using at the moment. Performance mode for the extra frames, VRR smooth, 120Hz off because I'm using a computer monitor as old as your grandmother. Brightness I like to keep between 50 and 35, as I found the game can be incredibly bright at certain times, and contrast at 80 to give the shadows and highlights a little bit more of a pop, making the whole game seem a little bit more vibrant. As we scroll down, you will see that I've actually kept motion blur on. Of course, you're welcome to change this, but I feel like I'm one of the few people on planet Earth who actually enjoy motion blur in video games. Now, we're going to bring the Filgrame down to 3 and turn chromatic aberration off. That's the weird red and bluish kind of lines that appear in certain animations. And that's pretty much it. Here is a little side-by-side of my settings next to the default. Let me know what you think in the comments and if you have any suggestions to make it look even better. Alright, now that we've got the visuals out of the way, let's play around with some of the mechanics and get things behaving a little bit better. Did you know that you can actually head into the settings and invert the Webwing controls? For some reason I found the original settings really disorientating to use, so just changing this setting and pressing up on the controller will actually move you up rather than down. This could be a thing that is just very personal to me, but if anybody's finding the Webwings a little bit weird to control, play around, see if you can make it feel a little bit better for you. Next up, I found that some of the quest markers and objectives in Spider-Man 2 are either really hard to find or straight up missing entirely. I know the game launched with a couple of bugs, so hopefully they'll fix things like this in the near future, but for now, head into your camera settings and toggle the look at waypoint setting on. Now, when you scan your environment, your camera will automatically focus on whatever it is you're meant to be doing, so that means no more wandering around aimlessly looking for a bag or searching high and low for the final enemy to take out as he creeps around the corner. Oh, what's that? Oh, YouTube is telling me that now is a really good point in time to give you a waypoint to subscribe to the channel. Go on, I know you want to. That was the worst plug I've ever done. A setting you've probably already heard about in Spider-Man 2 is the ability to take fall damage. Naturally, it's turned off, but if you're like me and you enjoy the cool breeze in your hair, shortly followed by a cold embrace of concrete, give it a go. It adds a sense of realism and is particularly fun for webheads who like to enjoy a little bit more danger and difficulty in their game. Speaking of realism, did you know that you can actually reduce the swing assist mechanics within the game, giving you some far more realistic settings as you explore New York? This one can be a little bit finicky, so I recommend reducing the setting gradually throughout your playthrough if this is something you want to use. See, the game naturally keeps you swinging in one direction and helps to lift you off the ground when you're swinging around the city a little bit too low. When you reduce the swing assist setting, that's a lot of S's, you'll find that the physics get far more realistic, pulling you into the buildings you're currently attached to and letting you hit the ground when you try to swing too late rather than picking you up. It's like taking the training wheels off a bike. Again, this one is great if you're looking for more of an immersive experience, but as far as I can tell, there aren't a huge number of benefits, perhaps a little bit more speed and a sense of flexibility and general freedom, but that's about it. This tiny little change can make a huge difference to your combat in Spider-Man 2. Buried under the vibration section of the controller settings, there are two options you should take a look at. First and foremost is the continuous dodge, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. Rather than constantly tapping a circle to avoid a flurry of bullets and punches, you can simply hold the button down and you will constantly dodge every attack coming your way. You may think that this would ruin the combat or make it far too easy, but in my experience it actually makes it a lot more fun. You can dodge all of the easier attacks, but getting a perfect dodge still needs to be done manually with perfect timing, and of course you have the parry mechanics too to watch out for. While you're in that section of the settings menu though, feel free to enable web shooter bursts. This one, again, is a quality of life improvement, letting you fire multiple shots of your web shooter in one tap rather than multiple, restraining enemies and pinning them to a wall even faster. Now, I'm going to show you how to make collectibles such as tech salvage boxes so much easier to find in Spider-Man 2. In the accessibility menu, head all the way down to the collectibles shader and throw on a bright color such as this neon blue, and you will find that all of the collectible items glow and are far more noticeable in the game. And yes, I know they have a natural glow, but believe me, if you're a completionist who doesn't like using external maps and whatnot like me, this thing is a lifesaver. Alright, let's take a break from the visual and combat settings and move on over to the audio settings in Spider-Man 2. There's a bunch of really cool stuff in here, particularly for creators and streamers. See, we have the essential and familiar settings such as streaming mode, which disables all of the copyrighted music. I actually didn't have this turned off in my first stream on YouTube, and it's a miracle that the video didn't get taken down. But something else that my fellow content creators and streamers may find useful is the midnight mode, which pretty much acts as a compressor, bringing the quiet moments in the game up and the low moments down. There's also a really cool voice boost option that makes dialogue clearer, and just below that you'll find an option to turn off all of the podcasts in the game, which can be so nice. A really cool addition to Spider-Man 2 is the ability to assign your own shortcuts to the left and right buttons on the controller. Of course, set these to whatever you like, but I personally enjoy having game speed 30% on my right button and one of my abilities to the left. This means that I can simply tap the right button to slow down time at any moment for cinematics or an easy photo mode opportunity, or maybe things are just getting a little bit too intense. Then simply tap the button again to return to normal speed. Then I can quickly tap the left button to use a finisher or a cool attack like this, adding yet another quality of life experience to the game. Insomniac, if you're watching this though, I'd really love an option to like toggle the UI and the HUD with this button. Just make it happen. It'll be really cool. Thank you. Alrighty, this final tip is kind of a three-parter, so I'll try to explain it as quickly as possible. When you unlock certain suits in the game, such as this noir suit, you'll gain access to two settings: the film style animation and the comic book effects. The comic effects are exactly what you would expect, adding visual comic prompts and sounds when you KO an enemy or use certain attacks. I absolutely love this, and I've got this one turned on permanently. The film style animation is a little bit more niche. It lets your character walk in a choppy animated style similar to that of the Spider-Verse movies. It's really cool for capturing those cinematic shots and montages that you've seen pretty much everywhere, from YouTube Shorts to TikTok. It's so cool. If you want to level up the immersion though, you can turn the whole of Spider-Man 2 into Spider-Man Noir's black and white universe. Like, dude, how cool does this look? To achieve this look, head into the visual settings and enable high contrast background. This will make everything black and white, but we can take it a step further. When you're in the high contrast options, turn the hero shader to black and ally shader to white. Then head back up to the usual visual settings and turn film grain all the way to 10 and contrast to 100. Just like that, you're going to have one of the most unique experiences in Spider-Man 2. Now I need to resist the temptation of doing a full playthrough using only these settings. Like, how cool would that be? Thanks as always for watching. There are links to more of my Spider-Man 2 videos on screen and in the description. Feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.